Morning, everyone. It's Wednesday morning at about 8:50, and this is your pre-opening comment, and it is video number 675. So if you like the work, please hit that like button and hit the subscribe button, and maybe even take a shot at the notifications so you know when there's new information out. Okay, so today is Fed Day. So we'll have an announcement and then a press conference. Everybody's sitting on the edge of their seats, but I think that that's a load of crap too, since the numbers for yesterday from retail sales, import, export, etc., and today's numbers for housing starts and permits, which were horrendous. Housing starts down 10.3% versus an expectation of minus 2.5, and real number of starts on an annualized basis, 1,421,000 versus 1,540,000. Permits were also down 10.8%. Expectation was down 7%, which is still pretty crappy. And the year-over-year number is 1.68 million starts versus 1.75 million starts. This is primarily, I think, two factors, actually. One is that the 10-year has now jumped up. A couple of days ago, it was 149.8. This morning, it's 167.4, which is a pretty big jump, which means that, mortgage rates are moving up. Lennar, in that vein, reported yesterday. It was not an overwhelming report, although they did have a 50% gain over expectations in earnings, but that actually had absolutely nothing to do with their business. They had an investment in OPEN, which was merged into a Chamath Palihapitiya SPAC, and the stock was, basically unchanged. This morning it's 88.01, down 70 cents. Kaufman and Broad is also down ever so slightly, 44.80, down 43. But the issue here is that costs have gotten so out of range. We have better than a 200% gain in the cost of lumber. And even though there's a huge shortage of single family, that's not what they're building. They're building multifamily. Single family homes cannot absorb, and I've been talking about this now for almost a year, they cannot absorb the increase in cost for lumber. It's one thing to replace copper, which is at all-time highs, with PCV piping, but lumber is a little bit more difficult, and starts on a year-over-year basis are basically flat. So, clearly there's something wrong there. There's also something wrong at Plug Power, PLUG. This is a stock that was $2.50 a year ago and ran up as high as 75. This morning is 36, down 6, on the news that they're going to have to restate all their financials from 2018 until now. So we'll see what's going on there. And, I hate to get on my soapbox and rant about this, but JetBlue is calling back flight attendants. The stock is basically unchanged, but this is just absurd. They're calling back flight attendants to work. They just got another $15 billion that they don't need. I mean, if reservations and flying is on the upswing, why do they need another 15 billion? Well, it's pretty simple. They want to keep their bloated status and keep everybody on payroll, even though what they should be doing is cutting back and downsizing to something that looks like it can be profitable at current levels, or levels current plus 20% or plus 30%. We are not going back to pre-pandemic levels in this industry anytime soon. Okay, BMW thinks that profit guidance ought to be up for 2021, while Toyota and Honda are cutting back U.S. production because they have shortages of parts. MU, Micron, selling their Utah facility, which was acquired or built for memory, which they are now giving up. The stock is 90.19, down 210. Chime is doing an IPO. I don't really have much in the way of information on that. Crude had a surprise draw at the same time. It is continuing to be weak. It is the chart on the screen, and I'll get to it in a minute. Uber was defeated in the UK again, and they're now going to adopt workers' rights, as workers are seemingly going to become employees. The stock is 56.94, and that's down $1.12. The FANG stocks are all down, with the NASDAQ down almost 150, while the Dow is up 53 and the S&P is down 12.5. The high growth and FANG stocks hate higher interest rates, and that's what we're getting. So, all the BS about, oh yeah, well, rates are going up for the right reason. Nobody cares. Nobody cares what the reason is. What they care about is that there are zombie companies that could only make it on zero rates, and now rates are climbing, and you will see massive numbers of small business bankruptcies. Okay, the chart on the screen, as I mentioned, is the oil. And the oil has seemingly started to roll over a bit. I mean, we had all of these pullbacks that came right down to the 20-day moving average and bounced up. So we'll have to see whether when we hit it now, it bounces up or it breaks to the downside. I mean, there have been times where the 5-day is rolling over, but it never quite gets there. So I guess I'll look for support around that low, which coincides with the prior high, resistance becoming support. And the number looks like about $63 a barrel. Right now we're $64.16, so could go either way here. Historically, the chart shows support, and so we ought to see a bounce. But I'm going to stay away from this market, I think. I'll have to take a look. We do have a kind of a nice channel here. This actually belongs a little lower. And so, we'll see if we come out of it. It could go all the way down to 59 and still be above the lower end of that channel. And it too ought to be moved up a little, yeah. So around 60. All right, let's take another look. I want to give kudos to Dennis, because as I mentioned yesterday, coffee is his number 2 best trading future, and he took a big profit yesterday. And when I say big, I mean, I think he actually sold pretty damn close to the absolute high yesterday. Was a buyer in this area around 132, sold, pretty close to 135 and a half or so, and made $2,800 a contract. And coffee is only $375 a point. So again, kudos to Dennis. He's really doing a great job. He's been staying away from the gold, which has really been acting poorly in a very unpredictable way vis-a-vis what has gone on with the dollar and Bitcoin and the other dollar-centric futures. So good for him there. And in point of fact, he actually has been short on the NASDAQ. Shorted it 3 times the other day for intraday trades. Let's pull it up here. And you'll see what I'm talking about. It's down. The futures are down 150 right now. But this looks like it could be rolling over yet again. But I want to show you what the intraday looks like, because that's what he's been trading. And this is, let's go for 3 days. He has had the opportunity to sell it on the rallies and buy it back near the lows, sold it on the rally, bought it back, sold it again, bought it back. And so that's pretty extreme trading, and frankly, it is weak again this morning. I don't know what his position is today because we haven't spoken about it yet. But again, as I said, he's really been good at this, and that's why we use him. All right, everyone. Watch out for the Fed today. But with those housing numbers, the starts, the permits, the cost of building them for the builders, I can't imagine that Powell's going to do anything but stay the course. Have a good morning.